Bro, I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today, what I want to talk about was challenging yourself while using your fitness as a catalyst to your mental success. Now, I know that sounds like a little bit of a mouthful, but I just want to talk about how, having extremely, I don't want to say difficult, but extremely locked in fitness goals and the self-disciplinary acts that you have to have every day, each week, and each month to stay consistent and see success, how that translates to your mental fortitude, your mental success, and just how challenging yourself in the gym translates to every aspect of your life. Now, I'm honestly recording this right now in the lobby of our Airbnb. It's in a beautiful place, but if you've been here for a while, you know that's I was kind of, not say bitching and moaning about the place, but it's nicer than it looks, and it's really nice. Like I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but I don't know if you hear the water in the background. It's just it's a lot more luxury. It reminds me more of a motel, like a motel that's like for families. Like if I had like a bunch of kids, this place would be beautiful. But I'm saying this because it's fucking incredible to be sitting here doing my podcast, and I'd really always just get so stressed about the quality of these episodes and things like that from a technology standpoint. And I really want to talk about get into the topic, but I also just want to say, today's my birthday. And something that I have realized this before, but me and Emma had a great conversation about this yesterday was, a lot of people ask, like, what do you want for your birthday? What's the highlight of your birthday? And, the biggest thing about my birthday is every day kind of feels like my birthday. We've done an incredible job at just showing the fuck up and creating life the way we wanted to do it. When you decide to make every avenue of your life the way you want it to be, every day really truly feels like my birthday. Now, obviously we can talk about dinner, we can talk about cake, we can talk about everyone kind of reaching out and saying happy birthday and things like that. But when it comes to getting the day to yourself and being able to chill and hang out, honestly, I get that every single day. And me recording the podcast on my birthday today, I just love it. There would be nothing more that there's nothing I'd rather be doing right now than recording my podcast episode as I do most every Sunday, and just continuing to do the same thing that I do week after week, month after month, day after day, and year after year. And, I just think, I just wanted to say that because I feel like we're always chasing the next thing. And that's why I want to talk about fitness and how having really good fitness goals and how that can be a catalyst to your success for mental health, your physical health, your longevity, and every other area, fulfillment and everything in that regard. But fitness is what got me here. Even the topic of this episode is about my fitness goals and about your fitness goals and what you should take away from this episode and things you should double down on. And, I think it's just incredible to see that, at one point in time in my life, I was super, super hopeless. I was super lost. I was really just all over the place with so many different avenues of my life. And to be sitting here and want to do my podcast episode and want to do a little bit of my work and hang out with my community and my clients. Of course, I'm going to give myself time off today. Right now, it's 2:40 p.m. right now. And, I was working most of the morning and doing a bunch of things this morning and getting a day set up. And, the weekend's been super busy. I had a client compete in his first bodybuilding show. He won first place in both of his classes. And, I was working a lot. But again, all I'm going to do today versus any other weekend or compared to my birthday and any other day off that I'm going to give myself is just half the day I'll just kind of chill and relax versus actually work and do things with my community and, programming and, editing and all these other different things that, honestly, at the end of the day, it gets kind of it becomes work. But it's sitting here and being able to record a podcast episodes and just talk about my life and, talk about the feedback that I get from other people and, keep ironing out these episodes is just super gratifying. And, I just think it's really important to share because, you may already have everything you've ever dreamed of in your life. It's just you're learning how to cope with it in terms of enjoying it, in terms of learning how to enjoy it to the fullest and take advantage of it. Maybe you're learning to give yourself time off. Maybe you're learning to give yourself more grace for the hard work you're putting in every day. Maybe you're learning to just navigate your emotions better because you're in a safer spot now. And, maybe you have old patterns that you got to work through. And, I think that's the biggest thing that I want to share in regards of doing the podcast episode on my birthday and things like that is because we're our own worst critic. We critique everything we're doing. We always question if we should be doing more, if the grass is greener on the other side, or, what we're doing is the right thing to be doing for the fulfillment of the life, for getting our goals done and all these different things. But at the end of the day, a lot of you guys and myself included, a lot of our dreams are come true. There's always going to be more financial goals. There's always going to be more fitness goals. There's always going to be relationship goals. There's always going to be things out there that you don't have that you wish you would have. If you make $100, you're going to wish you had 200. If you make 200, you're going to wish you had 1,000. You make 1,000, you're going to wish you had 10,000. And if you lose 10 pounds, you're going to be like, well, how much more weight can I lose in body fat percentage? If you lift a certain amount of weight, you're always going to ask yourself if you lift more. If you run a certain distance in endurance triathlon, aspect of trainings, you're always kind of thinking go faster, stronger, and, things like that. So, I just think I'm super grateful to be sharing this on my birthday. Right now, I'm turning 31 years old, and I literally would not want to be doing anything else right now. And, the topic being challenging yourself with fitness as the catalyst to your mental success is I got here through fitness. 31 years old, 10 years ago when I was 21 was when I bought my first program. Got a coach for my first time and got macros, got a meal plan, and didn't even get macros on. So you just got a meal plan to eat the same foods every day and then have one cheat meal a week. But, 10 years ago around the day, 10 years ago to almost to the dot, my first program I bought, I started October 3rd in 2014 and that's 2025. So, I was around 21 years old. So just about 10 years of me doing this, and all of my success of who I am as a man, who I am as a person, a business owner, a podcaster, a coach to my clients is for my fitness, so your fitness goals can really be the catalyst for your mental success because, when you put so much work in every day, every week, every month, and you look back and see the fucking growth. And again, it's not about focusing on how much farther you got to go. We all want to get faster, stronger, bigger, lose weight, all these different things. That's always going to be out there. But when you can look back and say like, I went from running 3K or not running at all to now I'm running 5K. I didn't go to the gym at all, and now I'm going 3 to 6 times a week. I didn't even know what a macro or micronutrient was, but now I'm counting my macros and my calories, and I got a full-on systemized routine for my nutrition. It's just absolutely amazing to see how much growth we've all had. And the reason why I want to highlight that is because, the harder you go in the gym, the more serious you take your fitness goals, the more you show up and systemize, your sets, your reps, pushing your weight, you're going through tempo changes, going through really challenging yourself in every avenue of your fitness goals. It translates to every area of your life. Easily the one that we can all relate to the most is two of the easiest ones when it comes to your fitness goals that we can all relate to is when you start going to the gym and start demanding that time to be secured and making sure that you hold it close to your heart and refuse to miss a workout. Your family's going to feel it. Your immediate friends are going to feel it. You may have a partner at the time that maybe doesn't support it 110%, and everyone's going to feel it around you because you're making sacrifices to go to the gym and put the time in, even when you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. At the beginning, no one knows what they're doing. Do you know? You just follow the template, you follow the plan, or you follow your ambition, and you start putting the time in, and that in itself starts carving out time away from people. You may say no to a lot of little dinners. You may say no to a lot of events with friends. You may say no to a lot of small things at work too, right? I remember when I got my first program, I worked at the bank. I worked at Scotiabank, and they were notorious for someone every day, every lunchtime. And at the end of the day, literally, I'll never forget it. Every day in the morning, someone brought coffee and donuts or Timbits or some type of baked good. At lunchtime, someone brought in something as well. It was always, whether it was takeout food, whether it was Mexican food or, Thai food or a sandwich buffet type deal. There's always some extra snacks there. And at the end of the day, a lot of them went to the fridge when they closed the bank and had a beer or two before they went home and hung out with their families and stuff. And, doing that every day, 5 times a week, it was great. You got a good community. You got people that are sharing those experiences with you. You get to kind of have those little breaks through the course of the day. But when you start demanding more time to go to the gym, and then, the second thing is nutrition, you stop saying no. You start saying no to certain foods, start saying no to certain calories and certain events. I had to say no for a long time to going out to wing night. I went out every Thursday night to wing night. Me and my boys, we used to get a pitcher of beer each, and we used to get 20 to 30 fucking wings, and we'd sit there every Thursday. And then we would do the same thing on Saturday, get another pitcher or two of beer, hang with the boys, and, have a burger and fries and hang out and just get drunk and have fun. But it's when I wanted to demand more time for myself with the gym, demand more time for myself with nutrition, I just started saying no to these things. So when you start to do those things, you start to set the standard for yourself and everyone around you. So not only does that translate to everything else in your life, you just hold the standard higher, which is the catalyst for having that mental fortitude and that mental success that you want. Because we can talk about the science about how workouts, give off endorphins and, help with depression and anxiety and stress and these things, but it's not so much about that as it is your mental self-actualization. You looking in the mirror, being proud of the person that you're becoming. Every single one of you listening to this episode, there was one point in time where fitness wasn't a priority. And if it was related to something crazy like sports or some other attachment to whatever sport you're doing or whatever physical activity that you're used to doing, whether it was dance or, volleyball, whether it was it's sprinting or biking. It never really had anything to do with the muscle aspect of it. Never really had anything to do with the fat loss aspect of it. Never had nothing to do with the longevity side of it. It was just part of who you were growing up. And if you were fortunate enough to have a really good background growing up from a physical attribute, where your parents put you in sports and you enjoy them, then, that's blessed. But it's still making that transition to go from that situation or that side of the fitness to then going over and making it something more that it has to be in terms of like longevity, nutrition, and fitness for the standpoint of, like I said, building muscle and losing fat. It's a different story. So, when you start to carve out all these different times, it sets the standards for everything else. And a lot of my clients that I've been talking to lately, it's a way to be proud of yourself. And again, I'm not talking about how far we could go. Even myself, I'm the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm still looking at how much further I got to go. I got to grow my lats. I got to get more thickness in my mid back. I need my hips to be stronger. I need all these different areas to be brought up for my bodybuilding shows and X, Y, and Z. And we're always going to be looking at what else we could be doing. But the fact that we are carving out this time for our life, it just sets the tone for everything else. And, I have a couple of guys I've been chatting with lately, and it's like, prime example, Lionel just finishing the bodybuilding show. I think that a lot of us men struggle with, and I'm not here airing out his emotions with you guys. I'm just, using this as an example. But when you sit down and commit 12 to 16 weeks of your fucking life to show for a bodybuilding show on peak, and, and it's not about the winning the classes or winning the trophies, but it's about yourself discipline, you being proud of what you've done every day and every week and every month. That right there can translate to everywhere else. It translates into your standards as to who you're going to let talk shit about you or talk shit to you in terms of like when you're becoming a better version of yourself. Because, when you have like these higher standards, these regards, it just translates in other areas of your life. Like prime example with boundaries or people that you allow in your space, and it's not to shit talk anyone around you that's not taking their fitness serious or not taking their nutrition serious and this stuff like that. But you're not going to allow those people's opinions to matter as much, because it's like, how can it? And it's a black or white conversation. If you're not taking care of your fitness, I'm not going to take advice from you. I recently had a client, like, I love him to death, and I'm not here to talk shit about him by any means, but he's a very career-driven individual. And, he wanted some advice from me from a business standpoint, things like that. And he completely misread what I was saying. And I was like, listen, dog, I'm your coach first, as much as I'm your friend. And, unless we're going to talk about your fitness goals first, I can't help you with the business, because we got to meet in the middle here. And as much as I love you as a friend, if you're not taking your fitness serious at all, then I can't take you serious at all. Because what's the point of us talking about longevity and building a business and building material wealth and, generational wealth and these things when you're going to die prematurely because of your own aspect or your own like mental health in terms of how you view your fitness? And that's just a standard that I got. Even my family know that. Like my brother with his kids, and he has a niece, he's having my nephews in October, and like those guys there, they're focusing on less sugar, more protein, more water, more steps. And it's not about having this ridiculously high standard with fitness and these things, but you set the ground, you set the foundation for what you're willing to accept. And when people around you aren't taking the fitness serious or the nutrition serious, it's not about comparing, it's about just setting a standard. Like the same people that we used to value their opinions, we used to also value the negative avenues of their life that they bring on to us and their judgments and stuff. But it's like when you have days, weeks, months, and even years put into the arena of showing off your own health and wellness, it sets that mental success. It's like, where you are amongst everyone else. And again, it's not a comparison game. It's about you being able to look in the mirror and be fucking incredibly proud of what you're doing. And if you're one of those people that want to take advantage of your life from like a financial standpoint and an employee standpoint, I think it sets the precedent that much more. Because if you're disciplined enough to do your meal prep, disciplined enough to carve out time for the gym, disciplined to show up and challenge yourself in these areas, and let's be honest, like when you say you want to work on your fitness, you're admitting to yourself that you're not necessarily happy with where you are. And that in itself is the same framework for when you do it with your business as well. Like, when you decide to get a different career, you decide to work on a different relationship goal, and you decide to set standards in those areas as well, it's the same framework. You've got to carve out time to build those avenues of your life up and admit that you don't have the certain things in your life that you thought that you would have. Like anxiety, for example, depression, and allowing people that have less standards than you to kind of talk shit about you and hold weight over your head about how you feel about your life. When you start working on your fitness, they become a little bit more quiet, because you're like, why does it matter what they say when they're not really doing anything more for themselves? And they could be financially successful. They could have all these different areas of their life that are like super abundant and great. But at the same time, you're not going to take it as serious, because you understand that there's a huge part of their own insecurities, their own mental health that they're just not taking serious. And I'm confident to sit here and say that 99% of my success in my life right now is because of my fitness. I stayed so structured and so concerned about like the well-being of myself with the physical side of things. Yeah, I went too far left field sometimes and I cared too much about the muscle gain and the fat loss, and maybe took diets and things to the extreme. But once I learned how to like cope through all of that from a longevity standpoint, that's all icing on the cake. That's like prime example. Like if you want to become a triathlon athlete and like do a Spartan race or a high rocks, it's like, remember the time when that wasn't even a goal? So you going and competing in that is the icing on the cake. Me going to the gym and becoming pain-free and getting in good shape, me getting abs and competing and winning first place at a couple bodybuilding shows and those things, that's icing on the cake. If you're over there, if you're literally sitting there, like, beating your running paces week after week, month after month, that's icing on the cake. And the same thing with nutrition. Like, I'm kind of, let's say, beating a dead horse at this point, but the whole challenging yourself and really proving yourself that you're capable and worthy of doing certain things that you never really thought were imaginable from a fitness standpoint, it just translates to everywhere else in your life. If you think you don't have a good relationship with your friends or a partner, these things, you challenge yourself from a fitness standpoint to change, and you can do that in the same areas as well. Same with your career. If you feel like you're not making enough money or you're not as appreciated at work and these things, like you've proven to yourself time and time again, you are capable and worthy of other things, and you just apply that same pressure in other areas of your life. That's why I think when it comes to fitness and you can challenge yourself and show the fuck up and really change your life in these regards, it just does so much more on every other area of your life. And the reason why I'm kind of highlighting this so much is because there's going to be a point in your life where it may be too late to take care of your fitness. Right now, being 31, and if you are 35 or 40 and under, like, you do have a lot of time to make headway on all your fitness goals. You have time to change. Even 50 and under, you have time to change. It's just once you get too late in life and you realize that, oh shit, I should have taken my fitness sooner or took my fitness seriously sooner, everything else you've ever worked on makes no sense. The biggest regret that most people have when they're older, and it's proven through studies, is, one, they wish they didn't work as much, which a lot of our goals come through work and financial freedom, but they also wish that they took advantage of their fitness sooner, because there is going to be a point where, you're going to hope that you can just do a 5K versus, oh, can I push my 5K pace, or can I do a triathlon? There's going to be times where you're a little bit older in age and you're like, oh, I want to have this shredded physique and this look. And it's like, it's a little bit too late, because if you're still building the foundation of a healthy metabolism and finally drinking water and finally listening to your metabolism and finally listening to your stress hormones and all these things, it's a little bit too late, and I think this is why it's so important for you to continue to always push the pace and challenge yourself with your fitness goals. And, if you've been doing it for a while, find a new goal. Is it more mobility? Is it more tempo work? Is it more like whatever the fuck it can be? But there's always more work to do in the gym, and that always sets the precedence for everything else in your life. And I wouldn't be sitting here recording my podcast on my birthday with pride if it wasn't for fitness. And I'm just so happy that I found this for myself, because I was lost before. Like I said, 10, 15 years ago, this wasn't who I was. And 10 years ago, I decided to take a gamble and take my fitness to the next level. And by staying in the arena and staying and showing up and continuously to never not go to the gym, it translated in my life in an amazing fucking way. And I think it's just so beautiful to see that. And so many of you guys that listen to this podcast, you have so much to be grateful for. You guys have changed your life beyond your own comprehension through fitness. So fitness really is a catalyst for you to be the best version of yourself in every other area in your life. And it's not about judging people around you. It's not about looking at other people as they're less than you, but it's also about reading the lines and understanding what's fucking factual. And if you are putting in the work, you do have fitness goals, you are showing up these different areas, you do deserve to have that success. And I think that's just the biggest thing that you guys got to highlight on when it comes to, your fitness being the catalyst for mental success, because there's so many areas that, we're stressed about, whether we're making more money, whether we have more freedom, whether we have more boundaries that are being pressed for fulfilling relationships. And when you do have the fitness side of things, it's so much more evident as to where the growth is at. And, it's not about comparing about where your fitness is at, where you want it to be and everything in between, because there's always going to be levels. There's always going to be trials and tribulations. There's always going to be things we want to work on. But fitness in itself has to be something that you challenge yourself with, and let it be the catalyst for every fucking area that's in your life to grow. And that's all I got, So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in, as always. And seriously, always pressure you guys self in the gym. Always push yourself every single set, every single rep. And let that be a show. Let that be proof is in the pudding. Let that be more of an example for yourself, to yourself, for why you deserve so much more to life. And transfer all of that skill. Transfer all of that self-discipline, transfer all of that energy that you put into your fitness, your nutrition, of all those areas, and let it shine fucking brightly on every other area of your life. Because I'm telling you right now, if you can take your fitness serious now at any version of your life before it's too late and you have to do it because the doctors tell you that you're unhealthy, then you're already fucking winning. So really, if you can remove your perspectives as to where you think you aren't in your life, whether it's financially, emotional, and boundary-wise and other areas in your life, I can promise you that fitness will be the catalyst for that success. And you have every right to be a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky, and fucking keep your head held high, because you fucking proved it to yourself. And now it's just about making sure that every other area of your life follows suit, But I appreciate you guys all. I hope you guys got some takeaways from this episode. And other than that, let's just keep doing what we do best, which is show the fuck up, set the standard for our life, and keep leading from the motherfucking front.
Bro, I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss, showing up.